You're watching AWB TV.
Coming up on Capital Focus, Washington employers are creating a long-term vision for our state's future success, and manufacturers across the country are encouraging more people to get vaccinated. Capital Focus starts right now.
Welcome to Capital Focus. A closer look at the issues that are most relevant to Washington employers.
Hello, I'm Dave Maston. Welcome to Capital Focus, where we bring you the highlights of this year's legislative session. We have a lot to cover, so let's get started. The 2021 legislative session ends a week from today, and here's where things stand for Washington employers. First, a few bills supported by AWB that have passed the legislature. The Manufacturing Best Act, which aims to double the number of small manufacturing firms. A COVID relief package, which provides $240 million in federal grants to Washington employers. Senate Bill 5061, which prevents an automatic tax increase on employers of $1.7 billion in the Unemployment Insurance Fund. And another proposal about unemployment insurance is also in the works and in the last stages of the legislative process. That's Senate Bill 5478. It'll invest $500 million more to help limit tax increases on employers in other parts of the Unemployment Insurance Fund. And now a few bills of concern to employers. A proposal to create a carbon cap and trade program is moving through the legislature. This could significantly raise the amount of fuel taxes at the gas pump and drive manufacturing jobs out of Washington to other states and other countries. In addition, a low-carbon fuel proposal is still under consideration by the legislature. House Bill 1091 requires a 20% reduction of carbon in fuel by the year 2035. This is similar to the California plan adopted 12 years ago, with results that show limited environmental benefit, but has added about 20 cents per gallon to the price of gas. And finally, some lawmakers continue to push for the state's first ever capital gains tax. Critics say the legislature simply doesn't need the revenue, and the Seattle Times says, whatever the spin, it's just an income tax, which voters have repeatedly rejected. And a recent study by Pew Charitable Trust shows that state revenue not only increased over the pandemic, they increased more than any other state in the country. Washington State has enough revenue to balance our budget, and we can do it without a tax increase. In some areas of the state, COVID cases have gone up. Governor Jay Inslee recently rolled back Whitman, Cowlitz, and Pierce counties back to Phase 2 of the state's reopening plan. This means counties in Phase 2 must limit capacity at restaurants, bowling alleys, fitness and recreation centers to 25%. These phases are determined by COVID case counts and hospitalizations. All counties will be evaluated again on May 3rd. And now some good news for getting us out of the pandemic. Lines are long and demand is strong at many Washington vaccine clinics. 38% of Washingtonians have received at least one dose, and now 25% are fully vaccinated. That comes to more than 4 million doses. There's a long way to go, but this is definitely a major step forward. Up next on Capital Focus, who's watching out for the economic health of our state? Washington employers have come up with a long-term solution. More on this after the break.
It's time to step up to the plate for AWB's 2021 virtual spring meeting. Take a look at this lineup. Morning keynote and Windermere Real Estate Chief Economist Matthew Gardner. 3 simultaneous tracks to choose from with over a dozen feature sessions. And bringing it all home, Root Sports producer and reporter Jen Mueller sits down with Mariners Executive Vice President Fred Rivera and former catcher Dan Wilson. The 2021 Spring Meeting, co-presented by the Boeing Company and Avista Corporation. A great day for employers and business leaders focusing on the hope and promise of the future. Join us at the virtual T-Mobile Ballpark Wednesday, May 12th. Register today at springmeeting.com.
Employers, are you looking for qualified, passionate interns? The Washington Workforce Portal allows you to search for internship candidates in a variety of fields and industries from schools throughout Washington state. Just go to washingtonworkforceportal.org, create your account, and find a match today. Welcome back to Capital Focus. And now, the close-up.
Welcome back. It takes years, decades even, to build a strong state economy. It takes a long-term vision and strategic investment. Here to tell us more is Erika Borg, Strategic Advisor of the AWB Institute. Erika, welcome to Capital Focus.
Thank you, Dave.
Tell us more about AWB Institute.
So AWB Institute is the 501c3 arm of AWB. That means we are a nonprofit that has a vision beyond membership and seeks to advance the economic vitality of Washington. And
recently some new energy, and that new energy has brought us a new strategy, which I understand is Washington in the Making.
That's right. We launched Washington in the Making in last summer. And we really feel like it was well timed to help Washington both through the pandemic and as we are rebuilding our economy. It is a long-term vision for the state, and as a part of Washington in the Making, we also launched a number of pilot projects.
And today we have some great business leaders who have been very involved with this. They're here to tell us more.
Yes. Joining us is Mike Schwenk, business consultant and past chair of AWB Institute Board, and Michelle Hagee, CEO of the advertising and public relations firm DH, and co-chair of AWB's Rebound and Recovery Task Force. Welcome.
Thanks, Erika. Good to be here.
Yep. Thank you both. Pleasure to join you.
Mike, let's start with you. You were behind the revitalization of the AWB Institute. What's your vision?
Well, we recognize that the state is typically the ones that lead an economic development strategy, and I know that. It's been my privilege to serve on a number of those over the last 30 years. The problem that we saw from the business community or employer community point of view was so many of these strategies had a finite time, and they didn't last. I wouldn't even say they ended up on the shelf, but they just disappeared. So we decided, look, we've been around for 110 years in AWB. We're not going anywhere. Why couldn't the business community create a statewide strategy for economic prosperity throughout the state and lead that and be the steward of that? And so that's what we've decided to do.
Thank you. And Michelle, how is this vision being applied right now through Washington in the Making?
You know, the vitals that are a part of Washington in the Making give us real-time data at the county level and the state level about what's happening in our economy across 5 different economic vitality pillars, if you will. And we're seeing communities, elected officials, local chambers of commerce, and others utilize this data as they're tracking their economic recovery post-COVID, and really as they're looking to the future and also tracking progress against their own initiatives.
Mike, talking to a lot of employers across the state during this pandemic, understanding that on the front line, we have employers that are doing all they can just to stay open, keep their doors open. They're reacting, they're adjusting to what's right in front of them. With that in mind, can you share with us the importance and the advantage of a long-term vision, what that's like, and especially during the pandemic?
Well, first, there's no question, Dave, that priority one is getting everybody back and get them open. So reopening is job one right now. But that said, let's presume success, and I think it's right around the corner with all of the vaccination the progress that's being made. Then what? The political battle cry we've heard over the last 18 months or whatever has been build back better. Well, what does better mean? What does better look like? What do we want better to be? And so that's really the question is while we are in the process of getting restarted, standing still is the same as falling back behind. And I don't think in our state, across the state, we want to come back the way we were. And so the question is, what do we want tomorrow to look like? You know, it was Abraham Lincoln who said the best way to predict the future is to create it. And so what is the future that we want to create? And now is a good time to be thinking about that and getting ready to execute in some way to help fulfill that future vision that we want for the state.
And Michelle, along those same lines, a lot of our rural communities were facing challenges even before the pandemic. We know there was an uneven recovery after the Great Recession, and we don't want that to happen again. How can this vision help our rural communities recover?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think Washington in the Making, it importantly is shining the light on what our rural communities are facing. The data allows us to see key indicators like broadband access, homes with internet, and other indicators by county. And our hope is that rural communities can use this data as they work on initiatives like expanding broadband, like remote worker training. And in fact, the Institute has a pilot project where it's looking at providing rural residents with remote worker training that would help equip them to look for jobs, online jobs in urban areas. So that's an example of the kinds of innovation that we're hoping this initiative drives.
Mike, Michelle, we're glad you could join us today, and thank you for all your service to our state.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us, Erika and Dave. Thank you.
That's just amazing. I mean, we're lucky to have those folks, right, working with us on this. And just what Michelle mentioned about how local government, local individuals, as well as state legislators, they could be using the vitals to really direct the next path. Where are we going? As Mike said, right, we build our own future, go where we think makes most sense. You're going to show us some of this, right? We're going to talk a little bit about the vitals here.
That's right. So you can go see the vitals yourself right here at awbinstitute.org. And there's a tab right up front called Vitals that really goes into all 34 vitals that are available across the state. And you can see them right here on my screen. And they range from unemployment rate, net jobs created, assessed value of taxable property, to some college, bachelor's degree attainment, really a wide range of items. A big one this year has been broadband. We put that indicator in there, and let me tell you, people are paying attention to broadband access. I want to take just a quick look at renters spending 50% or more of their income on rent. And you can notice that you can filter this by the region or by a particular county. And I'm going to pick Walla Walla County here. And you'll notice that the number of renters spending 50% or more of their income in Walla Walla is significantly higher than Washington as a whole. You'll also notice that you can compare, Walla Walla can make the decision not to compare themselves to Washington as a whole, but pick their own comparable county. So whatever county they decide that they would like to benchmark themselves against. They can pick really any county in the state. So let's say perhaps Walla Walla wants to compare themselves to Island County. And you can then see how they're doing compared to that particular county across the state. We think it's important that we don't decide who a particular county would want to benchmark themselves again, but allow the counties to make that own decision about where they want to benchmark and also what data points are the most important data points for them to consider in their community.
This is such a great tool. I almost hesitate to ask, but what's next? What's next in Washington in the Making?
So what's next is we're going to be looking at future casting. So how is our population as a state growing? And what are the jobs that we will need to have and build in order to meet those population growths? And that will also be available at the county level, which should help counties consider, what is that kind of talent pipeline that they need? How do they need to be addressing graduation rates? How do they need to be addressing particular sectors of growth that they're seeing in their county?
Well, Erika, thank you so much. We really appreciate the AWB Institute and all the work, and definitely you'll be coming back and giving us some more information on a later show.
Thank you, Dave.
Up next on Capital Focus, national manufacturers are doing their part to help with the vaccine rollout. Now they're taking the next step, getting our country back to normal. After the break.
We can fly where you want to, we can leave your house behind. But if your friends don't mask, and why don't they mask? Well, they won't fly this airline.
You can fly if you want to, cause we do safety right. We have air that's clean and disinfectant machines zapping germs like an arcade space fun. And we dance
Do the dance, do the dance.
Everybody wash some hands.
Do the dance, while always wearing a mask. Do the dance, do the dance.
No, seriously, please wash your hands.
Do the dance,
HEPA filters cleaning commence.
Alaska safety dance. Alaska safety dance. Alaska safety dance.
After more than a year of COVID, many of us are wondering, what will it take to get back to normal, or at least something close to it? Clearly, vaccines are a major part of the solution. Experts say that a high level of vaccination would allow us to control the virus rather than the other way around. So how do we get there? Here to help us learn more is Amy Anderson, AWB's Government Affairs Director for Healthcare Policy. Amy, welcome to Capital Focus.
Thank you, Dave, for having me.
Okay, tell me more about the vaccine rollout.
Sure, things are going well. Right now, about 25% of all Washingtonians are fully vaccinated, and 38% have had at least one dose. The state has exceeded its goal of daily vaccinations, reaching more than 62,000 doses per day.
And the governor came out in January with a goal of 45,000, so we're well in excess of that, so we're really doing a good job here in Washington State. What's the story nationally?
You know, the New York Times reports that by June of this year, there will be enough vaccine for all adults to be vaccinated. That's about 78% of the population. Children under 16 are not yet eligible.
And that's assuming that everyone wants to get vaccinated, and I know that that's an issue that we're going to be talking about right now. Question is how do we get more people interested in the vaccination?
Dave, that's right. Current polling shows that about 62% of Americans have already gotten the vaccine or plan to as soon as possible. The rest either said they would wait and see, only if required, or definitely not.
So how do we reach these other people?
You know, great question. And here to help us learn more is Chrys Kefalas, the Vice President of Brand Strategy with the National Association of Manufacturers. Welcome to Capital Focus, Chrys.
Hi, Amy. Great to be with you, and always great to be with an essential and vital partner of the National Association of Manufacturers, AWB.
Thank you. So tell us about your latest campaign.
Well, the This Is Our Shot project launched around January to encourage manufacturers, their families, and their community to get their COVID-19 vaccinations to help end the pandemic. Manufacturers have been leading from the beginning to safeguard our workplaces, to adopting safety protocols. And this is really the next extension of that work to ensure that we can accelerate our path to getting to the new normal, what that may be. And so This Is Our Shot is a digital campaign. It's part PSAs that we're rolling out to help encourage manufacturers to utilize their voices to encourage others to be vaccinated. The other part of the campaign is providing tools at thisisOurShot.nam.org/thisisOurShot for manufacturers to have communications guides, social graphics, other materials so that they can encourage COVID-19 vaccinations among their workforces. And the other piece is employer education. So we are having webinars and conducting research through the Manufacturing Institute, our workforce and education nonprofit, with the University of Florida to dive into what are the sentiments that manufacturers in particular have with respect to COVID-19 vaccination, and how can we address them better with new augmented communication strategies And we'll hope to roll out that information in the coming weeks.
And what does the research tell us about reaching people who are hesitant to take the vaccine?
So what we know is there are a group of Americans who have, in some cases, legitimate reasons for being a little vaccine skeptical. But, by and large, when they are faced with the facts and they talk to their medical providers, we do see a shift. What people need to see and hear is that these vaccines, according to the CDC, have been tried and tested in historic levels. The safety protocols and safety, opportunities that we have to really see how these vaccines are performing are unprecedented in their scope and scale and demographic groups. And we are seeing just incredible safety precautions and outcomes throughout the vaccination programs, really in the United States and across the world. That's number one. Number two, vaccines historically have had some issues with skepticism, but what we also see is that when other individuals, people you care about, people who have influential capacities in their groups to share that they're getting the vaccine, that has a great effect in encouraging vaccine acceptance. And so when individuals see other workers getting their COVID-19 vaccine, talking about getting their COVID-19 vaccine, seeing their family members post social media postings with the photo, the Rosie the Riveter, I got my vaccine look. That actually has an effect. And people are seeing that others are getting safely vaccinated, and that is boosting vaccine confidence across the country.
Oh, it's so good to hear. And this campaign has already produced some great videos. Let's take a look.
I'm getting the vaccine because I love Frank.
I love you too, man.
Mark?
Eric, tell me, why are you getting the COVID-19 vaccine?
I'm getting the vaccine because I love John's wife. And John.
I'm getting the vaccine because I love the Lancaster High Tigers. #1 fan.
I'm getting the vaccine because I love Margaret.
I love you too.
Oh, stop it.
And cut.
Great message there. Chrys, how can employers help share these messages?
So by going to nam.org/thisisourshot, we have a lot of communication resources and tools, including that PSA, also dubbed in Spanish, that you can share with your employees. We encourage you to use those resources that are rolling out new resources really every week. The other social media, at Shop4NAM on Twitter, we are posting regularly in new creative content that individuals can share with their employees and their workforces. And the other piece to this, we partner with the Health Action Alliance on additional messaging resource and guides. You can find those resources at our landing page and utilize the content, adjust the content for your unique communication strategies and approaches with your unique workforces.
A lot of great resources there from NAM. Chrys, we know that getting back to normal, or at least close to it, requires as many people as possible getting the vaccine. What's the best way employers can help?
So recognize that employers are trusted resources. Number one, you have a role to play, and it's an important role. Edelman recently did their trust index and showing that individuals across this country really do trust their employers to provide factual information about a lot of pressing issues. Vaccinations right at the top of that list. So share information with your employees. When they do have questions, encourage them to talk to their medical providers and get the latest questions answered from people that they deal with on a daily basis regarding many medical issues. And the other piece to this, encourage, obviously when you get the vaccine, share your picture. One of the manufacturers in our membership recently shared with us that in their community break rooms, they have photos that individuals can share when they get the vaccine. Take a moment to share your experiences. We encourage that happening across the country. It's working, it's changing minds, and it's going to help end this pandemic.
Chrys, thank you to you and the entire NAM team. You are always great partners, and the leadership on the vaccine rollout has just been phenomenal. So thank you again for being here today.
Thank you for your support. Really, I meant what I said when we started off. AWB is one of our very best partners, involved in all the pressing issues that manufacturers are facing, leading, always ahead of the pack. And so thank you for sharing this message, and thank you for being part of the This Is Our Shop project.
Boy, that was just really amazing. That's just really great information, and just knowing about, we just know that the employers in our communities in our state across the country are just leaders, and they are leaders in the communities. And what we've already we've shown previously about what our employers are doing here in the state of Washington, and just the need to do more. We just need to keep on this and get that vaccination up. And we understand that there are people that are nervous and worried, and more communication. We're going to lick this, but we got to keep working at it.
Absolutely, and I think to Chrys's point that sharing that and really encouraging others, just like we are here at AWB, a team effort, and really encouraging your co-employees and your team members to be vaccinated so that we can get back to some semblance of normalcy.
Amy, I hope to have you back on the show in the very near future and talk about the final success that we've had in getting back to normal. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I look forward to it, Dave.
Now let's take a quick look at the AWB events calendar. We'll hit the highlights of the 2021 legislative session at a free webinar on April 27th. Our government affairs team will cover the big issues that impact employers. This event is for members only. To learn more about becoming a member, contact Sean Heiner at seanh@awb.org. Stay in compliance with the latest updates from the AWB's HR and Employment Law webinar series. Join us May 5th for a webinar on performance evaluations and discipline. These webinars offer continuing education credits. The lineup is almost set for the AWB 2021 virtual spring meeting on May 12th. Education and Systems Consultant Aaron Jones, Sports Reporter Jen Mueller, Fred Rivera, and Dan Wilson of the Seattle Mariners are at the heart of the order. We'll cover all the big issues related to business, advocacy, and rebound and recovery in this year's meeting. On May 18th, we're hosting a special webinar to help employers understand changes and requirements of the state's long-term care insurance program. The legislature has just passed a bill that could impact many employers, so sign up today for this free event. On May 19th, we're hosting a webinar on the manufacturing and technology study recently published by AWB and High Peak Strategy. State Representative Matt Banke and economist Spencer Cohen will share their thoughts on why manufacturing is a linchpin of our economy. Tonight, we close with this. An 11-year-old from the Tri-Cities is showing us all how to start a business in the middle of a pandemic. Richie Arlivalo has launched a new brick and mortar snack shop in Pasco. He calls it Junk in the Trunk. It's a great place to grab a cold drink, some coffee, and chips. Now, Richie had a little help from his dad and says his favorite part of the job is meeting new people. The first thing he plans to buy with his profits is more inventory. It'll be fun to watch him and his business grow up together. This is AWB's Capital Focus. I'm Dave Maston, signing off on this, our last show of the 2021 legislative session. So please be safe, be smart, until we talk again.
Thanks for watching AWB TV.